Answer the public. What is an IP address? Everything you need to know. As you probably know, your computer has an IP address virtually attached to it. But you might not know that there's actually a bit more to it than that. If you found this article by searching "what is an IP address?", then you've come to the right place. In this post, you'll find everything you need to know about IP addresses and how they are important in relation to your WordPress sites. Let's start with the basics. What is an IP address? An IP address is a string of numbers assigned to computers, routers, servers, pretty much anything connected to the internet, including websites. It works much like a regular address, pinpointing the location of any device or system in the network around the world. IP stands for Internet Protocol. IP addresses are used in the TCP/IP protocol to help devices, routers, and servers communicate with each other. When it comes to actual websites, this string of numbers is masked by a domain URL, making it easier for people to remember. IPv4 and IPv6. All devices and network systems have an IPv4 IP address. This is a string of numbers in 4 groups separated by dots, called dotted decimal notation. An IPv4 address looks like this: 85.108.148.86. There are around 4 billion IPv4 addresses and they are all mostly in use, rotated and renewed. A few years ago, between 2011 and 2018, IPv4 addresses started running out. The Internet Protocol introduced IPv6 to add trillions of new addresses. IPv6 addresses include letters along with numbers, and instead of dots to separate the sections, they use colons. An IPv6 address looks like this: FE80/CDOO/OCDE1257/0000/211E72. The transition from IPv4 to IPv6 is still in process and will take years to complete. Not all networks support IPv6 and most devices still use IPv4. Some large network providers and ISPs have adopted IPv6 while maintaining an alternate IPv4. There's no official shut-off date for IPv4, it will keep existing as more and more ISPs and large websites adopt IPv6. Types of IP addresses. There are a number of different types of IP addresses. Dynamic, static, public, private, shared, dedicated, loopback. Dynamic IP addresses are addresses assigned by the Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol (DHCP). These addresses are on a lease basis and change from time to time. Regular home routers and small networks usually have dynamic IP addresses. Simply put, it's the common default provided by Internet service providers. Static IP addresses are addresses that don't change once they are assigned. They will stay the same until the device on the network is decommissioned. This type of IP address is assigned by the ISP and can come at a higher cost than the regular dynamic address. These are assigned to servers and other large network systems. They can also be assigned to particular devices but can have security risks if not configured properly or supported by security protocols. In order to have a static address for your computer and devices, you have to contact your internet service provider and ask what options they offer as a service. You will need enough tech experience to keep your static IP address safe. Public and private. Public IP addresses are sometimes also referred to as external. This is the address that is assigned to a router or network and is used for external communications outside of its own network. When you use a tool like What is my IP address, it will show your public address. Public addresses are only used by one router or network at a time. If it's a dynamic address, it might be used by another router once the lease is up. A private IP address, also referred to as local or internal, is assigned independently to all devices inside a network. This set of numbers is the same inside any network and is applied to each device in the order that they connect to the router, modem or server. What sometimes gets confusing is that a router, while it has a unique public IP address, will also have a private address. The router's private address will be the same for any router of that brand around the world. For example, Linksys routers use 192.168.1.1, D-Link and Netgear routers are set to 192.168.0.1 and so on. How public and private, external and internal IP addresses work together. Let's take, for example, a home and an office, each with their own modem, router. Each of the routers will have its own private and public IP address. If both the home and the office use a Linksys router, they will both have the same private address for their router. What will be different is their public IP address. Individual devices communicate with the Internet with the help of something called Network Access Translation NAT. What NAT does is help the network translate from the public address to all the different private addresses inside a network. That's how each device is receiving the correct information for the process it's doing. The screenshot below is a great visualization of how this works. Answer the public.